standing until the conclusion of the reading of the proclamation. Ladies and gentlemen, the proclamation. All persons having any business before this honourable court, now draw nigh, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Queen.
Please be seated. Admission of lawyers. Shannon Blair Askew.
May it please the court, I move that Shannon Blair Askew be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Shannon Blair Askew be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Lucy Catlin Manda Bannon.
May it please the court, I move that Lucy Caitlin Manda Bannon be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Lucy Caitlin Manda Bannon be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Luke Robert Barnett.
May it please the court, I move that Luke Robert Barnett be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Luke Robert Barnett be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Maria Bletzis.
May it please the court, I move that Maria Bletzas be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Maria Bletzis be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jessica Isabel Brikey.
May it please the court, I move that Jessica Isabel Brikey be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jessica Isabel Brikey be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Xu Lan Chen.
May it please the court, I move that Zhulan Chen be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Shulan Chen be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jolene Chua.
Please court, I move that Jolene Chua be admitted as a lawyer.
Let Jolene Chua be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Lachlan Summers Clark.
May it please the court, I move that Lachlan Summers Clark be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Lachlan Summers Clark be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ashley Ann Edwards.
May it please the court, I move that Ashley Ann Edwards be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Ashley Ann Edwards be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
C. Fan Fay.
Please the court, I move that C. Fan Fay be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let C. Fan Fay be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Moira Jane Gillespie.
May it please the court, I move that Moira Jane Gillespie be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Moira Jane Gillespie be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Chantel Hammond.
May it please the court, I move that Chantal Hammond be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Chantel Hammond be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Sean Jean Hunter.
May it please the court, I move that Sian Jean Hunter be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Sian Jean Hunter be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Daniel Scott James.
May it please the court, I move that Daniel Scott James be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Daniel Scott James be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Maxine Molly Jelich.
May it please the court, I move that Maxine Molly Yelich be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Maxine Molly Jelich be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Elise Rosemary Jensen.
May it please the court, I move that my daughter, Elise Jensen, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Elise Rosemary Jensen be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Anoj Nathan Joseph.
May it please the court, I move that Anoj Nathan Joseph be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Anoj Nathan Joseph be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Neo Wool Kwan.
May it please the court, I move that Neil Kwan be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Newell Kwan be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Selena Renee Rodriguez Lanuza.
May it please the Court, I move that Selena Renee Rodriguez Lanuza be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
That Selena Renee Rodriguez Lanusa be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jen Liu,
May it please the Court, I move that Chen Liu be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
That Sheng Liu be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Timothy Charles Lowe,
Stroke.
May it please the Court, I move that Timothy Charles Lowe be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
That Timothy Charles Lowe be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Clarence Carl Leung Ma,
Please the court, I move that Clarence Carlin Ma be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Clarence Carlin Ma be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Julian Oiter,
That Julian Oiter be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Lisa Jane Powell,
May it please the Court, I move that Lisa Jane Powell be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
That Lisa Jane Powell be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Robert Alexander Rowie,
Please the Court, I move that Robert Alexander Rowie be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
That Robert Alexander Rowie be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Rita Safe,
May it please the Court, I move that Richard Safe be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
That Rita Safe be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Annie Singh,
May it please the Court, I move that Annie Singh be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
That Annie Singh be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Cecilia Maria Tran,
May it please the Court, I move that Cecilia Maria Tran be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
That Cecilia Maria Tran be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Wei Quan Wan,
May it please the court, I move that Wang be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
That Wei Quan Wan be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Wenji Yuan,
May it please the Court, I move that Wenji Yuan be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
That Wenji Yuan be admitted as a lawyer of this court. It will be necessary for the purpose of an oath or affirmation that all those being admitted today stand up but remain in their current places. Could all admittees please stand?
Shannon Blair Askew, Lucy Caitlin Manda Bannon, Luke Robert Barnett, Maria Bletzis, Jessica Isabel Breike, Shulun Chen, Jolene Chua, Lachlan Summers Clark, Ashley Ann Edwards, C. Fan Fay, Moira Jane Gillespie, Chantel Hammond, Sian Jean Hunter, Daniel Scott James, Maxine Molly Jellich, Elise Rosemary Jensen, Anoj Nathan Joseph, Neo Wool Kwan, Selena Renee Rodriguez Lanuza, Jen Liu, Timothy Charles Lowe, Clarence Carlung Ma, Julian Oiter, Lisa Jane Powell, Robert Alexander Rowie, Rita Safe, Annie Singh, Cecilia Maria Tran, Wei Quan Wan, Wenji Yuan. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill and ability? Would you please say, "So help me God," or "I do"?
I do. I do.
Would you please be seated?
Now that the formal part of the proceedings has ended, I'd like to warmly welcome you to the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Present with me on the bench today to my right is Justice Bell, who is the President of the Court of Appeal, and to my left Justice McFarlane, who is a member of the Court of Appeal. Together we constitute the court that has, in exercise of its jurisdiction admitted you to practice. To all the new lawyers here today, welcome to the legal profession. Today is a day for celebration. You have all worked extremely hard to get here, through caffeine-fueled nights and obscure problem questions, reading countless wafer-thin pages of textbook and more cases than you can hope to remember. Rest assured, for those of you with a bibliophobia, that is a fear of running out of reading material, as a lawyer, that fear will never materialise. You have entered the world of eggshell skulls, encountered the mysterious reasonable person, and have understood that the Constitution means much more than the vibe of the thing. In becoming a lawyer, you have today joined a centuries-old profession with ancient origins. The custom of advocates swearing an admissions oath dates back to the 12th century. This court first admitted lawyers to practice in 1824, and by 1836, the names of lawyers were entered onto rolls in this state. You have now become part of the tradition almost 200 years later. Perhaps for some of you, or more likely for your family and friends, that's how long it feels like you've been studying. On that note, I'm also pleased to welcome those with you today, either here or on the live stream. For many of you, the support of your family and friends has been invaluable. No doubt they've also been often on the receiving end of your finely polished skills of argument and persuasion. I do hope you take the time to thank them today. The oath or affirmation you have made today is a serious one and deserves solemn regard. Whether you work in private practice, at the bar, in a community legal centre, or in an entirely different field, you should be known for your honesty, your integrity, and your commitment to justice. It is an acknowledgement of this weighty responsibility, that we observe today's unique formalities, including the moving of lawyers, swearing of oaths, and even our somewhat unusual choice of fashion. I recall on one occasion, some years ago, a young member of the audience asked if we were doing Santa photos after the ceremony. I was very sorry to disappoint. However, although we mark this occasion with formality and tradition, not everything in the legal profession remains unchanging. You'll be unsurprised to hear that last year we had to adapt quite a bit. COVID-19 meant a rapid shift to increase use of virtual courtroom setups and technology to ensure that access to justice continued in the midst of a pandemic. Things didn't always go smoothly, as those with me on the bench can undoubtedly attest to. There have been real difficulties to grapple with in terms of open justice, effective communication and fairness to participants. And occasionally a lawyer might even get stuck behind a Zoom kitten filter. But for all the challenges we faced, the impetus is greater than ever before for us to prioritise flexibility and accessibility. Better use of technology and increased working from home arrangements have profound implications for how our legal system interacts with many people, including those in rural and remote areas, those with a disability, medical conditions, or carers' responsibilities. As the newest members of the profession, you are at the forefront of innovation in the law and have a unique opportunity to see through changes so that justice is done openly and equitably. There are, of course, other changes that deserve attention. When we think of diversity in the legal profession, we encounter the duality that we have come very far and that much still needs to be done. Though women were originally not permitted to practice, since 2018, women have made up more than half of all solicitors with a practising certificate in New South Wales and currently make up 63% of solicitors under the age of 30. Women occupy many of the most senior positions in the law, including, of course, the Chief Justice of Australia. However, women continue to face challenges of representation, including amongst judges of this court and, for example, in speaking roles before the High Court. It is heartening, on the other hand, to see that the local court of New South Wales has almost achieved gender parity amongst magistrates. But we must not be complacent about these issues. There are other noticeable diversity concerns that we must face head-on. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and people from diverse cultural backgrounds continue to be alarmingly underrepresented in the legal profession, and particularly within the judiciary and the ranks of senior counsel. We must also be alert to barriers to the profession from people from less privileged backgrounds. Law should not be a profession for the wealthy, and the idea that students may be dissuaded from studying law by the cost of a law degree, which this year has again increased, or because of other systemic issues, is troubling. Not just this, but we'll only achieve a truly diverse profession when barriers to advancement are broken down and people from different backgrounds are properly supported in a collegiate and inclusive environment free from harassment and discrimination. These issues are fundamental to a just and transparent legal system and to the legitimacy of the rule of law. We need diverse representation amongst advocates and judges so that all people who become involved in our justice system can be properly heard and fairly engaged with by a system reflective of our broader community. Despite these challenges, there is real scope for change. There is far greater diversity of background amongst junior lawyers than those who have been around for as long as me, and you need only to look at your fellow admittees in the courtroom and then the paintings on the wall to see that this is undoubtedly so. You are in a unique position as new lawyers who are entering the profession at a time when more than ever your words and actions are having an impact for good. You are being heard and taken seriously when you agitate to correct injustices, whether it be speaking out about unsustainable working cultures, sexual harassment or bullying within the profession, unfair laws or systemic failings affecting our society's most vulnerable. I urge you to continue to speak up for these things. They do matter. You are the future of the profession and will steer the direction that it will take. As a lawyer, you will also need to make difficult ethical decisions at times. With regards to our personal characteristics, lawyers have been the butt of jokes for centuries. Some would say there are only a handful of lawyer jokes, the rest are true stories. But jokes aside, you must use the tools you have developed to think critically and not compromise on your fundamental duties to the court and the administration of justice and the other ethical duties you must uphold. Now that you are a lawyer, you can get paid to argue instead of just arguing for free. Of course, there is a lot more to it than that. You are an advisor, a problem solver, a mediator, and an advocate for the marginalised. As you go about your day-to-day work, remember that you're not merely dealing with the law in a vacuum as a series of abstract concepts, but law as it applies to people's lives. For this reason, you must try to deliver legal services competently and fearlessly, with courtesy and integrity. Justice Gageler, before he was a High Court judge, once said, "You must be prepared to give the same answer to the same questions for the same reasons, no matter who asked the question or for what purpose or in what context the asking may occur." That is fundamental to the rule of law. For those of you who will practice law, the way you communicate information to others will have profound consequences for access to justice. For a non-lawyer, law is often incomprehensible. One of your roles as a lawyer will be to make law accessible to others, sometimes by deciphering legal complexities, other times by deciphering poor legal drafting, and sometimes both. One thing you will regrettably strike throughout your career is legislation which seems carefully crafted with the object of ensuring that no one can understand it. Your task is not just to understand it, but to explain it clearly to those whose rights and interests are affected by it. As lawyers, we must not keep the law locked up as something knowable only to us. A client reading your advice should be empowered to understand your meaning, not mystified and confused. So be clear and concise in your writing and your speaking. Plain English is powerful. Consider, do I really need to say aforementioned or herewith? Must I really sprinkle in that Latin phrase? Should I use double negatives, tautologies and wordy clauses that take up a whole page or sometimes more? The answer to those questions is obviously no. The best advocates can make their points simply and succinctly. Now, some of the most experienced lawyers and judges in this state could use that reminder. Don't pick up their bad habits. I also want to speak about failure. I would not be surprised if there are quite a few overachievers and perfectionists in the room today. Even so, at various points of your career, you will make mistakes, some minor, some more serious. When you do make mistakes, your commitment to honesty, integrity and the administration of justice means that you must take responsibility, correct what you can and learn from those errors. You must fail at times in order to grow. What is important is that you try not to make the same mistake twice. I myself have made many mistakes over the years, far too many to remember. And even as Chief Justice, my decisions have on occasions been successfully appealed to the High Court. When this happens, I'm just forced to grit my teeth and remind myself it's not a rumour that the High Court is infallible. But sometimes even dissenting judges must become the law. Finally, I want to emphasise that your mental health is extremely important. This may sound unexpected at this type of ceremony, but the law is not everything. There may be times when you feel overwhelmed, burnt out or distressed. If you do, you should not be afraid to seek professional help or take a step back when you need to. Also remember, the law is a collegiate profession, and in times of difficulties, the support of your peers will be invaluable. I found that out throughout my career. Although you might find it hard to believe, I was admitted quite a long time ago. I lost my first case, and I lost many more after that. But throughout my 35 years in practice, I could always count on the other barristers in my chambers to share my disappointment at the unfairness of the verdict, the slight tactics of opposing counsel, and most often, I regret to say, the obtuseness of the judge or judges before whom I was appearing. Now, I hasten to add I don't include either of my fellow judges on the bench in that comment. On behalf of all the judges of the Supreme Court, and particularly those sitting with me today, can I once again congratulate you on your admission and welcome you to the legal profession. The Court will now adjourn.
All stand. This honourable court is now adjourned. God save the Queen.